Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. This new moon is very near the end of Pisces and approaching Chiron very closely. So the focus is on the Chiron in Pisces, making a beautiful trine aspect to Jupiter, and Jupiter is connecting to Pluto. Jupiter has just gone retrograde earlier in March. In its forward movement it sextiled Pluto exactly, January this year. And now it's retrograding, it will sextile it again. Later in the year, in October, it sextiles it for the third time and completes the process. So this process, it has to do with the Scorpio quality that Jupiter is emphasizing at present. And as Pluto rules Scorpio, it's as though the very point of Scorpio is being shone up in our lives, which is to get to the absolute bottom of things, so that anything that shouldn't be there can actually be shifted, rooted up. We root it up by being conscious of it. We root it out of the unconscious and look at it and relax with it. Whatever we have there is what we have. And it is wonderful and amazing how, when you become aware of what is there that no longer fits who you are becoming, that thing starts to dissolve. The focusing from Jupiter to Chiron suggests that the area of difficulty is worldwide. It's about the whole human race. It's about the problem of being human, the difficulty. And we see the difficulties in different hot spots all over the world. And in our own lives, we see our own hot spots of difficulty. The wounds, the knee-jerk reactions when hurt. These are shared. It does mean that when you find a difficulty rising in your own emotional life, that difficulty is actually happening somewhere else as well. It might just be flowing through you from somewhere else. And it might also be your own. Let's deal with what's ours, rather than trying to heal the world. So the sun and moon are shining with the Chiron, showing us that there is no way we can think of ourselves as independent and different and separate and unaffected. Mars will just have passed the exact square at the new moon, but of course, for the chart, it sits there as a flavour of the month, the very end of Sagittarius. Our energy, wanting things to be brighter, wanting to lift out of the Scorpio, as Sagittarius might see it, sludge. But within a very few hours, Mars will be in Capricorn, where we accept actually how it is. Yes, it would be nice if it was all lovely, but actually this is how it is, and actually maybe it is not so terrible. And there is work to be done, and a great satisfaction in getting on with it. Mars will be approaching Saturn, who's also in Capricorn there, so any work that we put in is followed by achievement. Perhaps the square from Mars is showing the distractions that are likely to crop up as we allow life to flow through us from all directions. We may have to overcome distractions and focus deliberately when we want to achieve something, even if it's just cooking dinner, and not allow too much of this multitasking where one can forget perhaps what one began doing. Mercury and Venus are very close together in the middle of Aries. A lot of thought of being oneself and doing what I want to do. With Venus there, we could find ourselves claiming that how we want something done is how it needs to be done, whereas of course everyone has their own ways, equally legitimate. But taking other people into consideration this month should not override what we need to do for ourselves. Mercury and Venus are trining the North Node. There is a joy in moving at the pace that suits your body, in doing the things that feel most joyful to you. And this needs to be balanced with the sensitivity to the needs of other people. We are not meant to be overrun by the work that needs doing in the world. We cannot properly do that work if we are not in ourselves and in our own joy. By the full moon, we find that the Sun is joining Mercury, who is retrograde at that point. And they're both trining the North Node. So this whole month is about the rightness of Aries. It is concerned with the self, but it is not selfish in the sense of pushing other people away. It doesn't have to surround itself with its own space. It just acts fast. The important part is the motivation. And the pattern of the full moon shows this so beautifully, with the moon in Libra opposite to the sun. That dilemma that is so very human, how much for me and how much for you? And all squared by Mars, who is reaching Saturn. This dilemma that we will have to work out for ourselves, each one in their own way, is likely to be shone up by circumstances, actual, physical, practical situations. The quality of Capricorn that can assist in all of that T-square pattern is the pausing before you act. Mars wants to get on as soon as it sees how a thing can be done, and is correct in terms of the success of the activity when it's in Capricorn, but it's not just the activity that matters. It is this relationship that we have with other people and with the rest of the world. It's about relationship in this chart. And Venus has just moved into Taurus. Very practical, very physical. It's the presence of people. It's who's actually there rather than who isn't there. Venus will be moving forward through Taurus quite fast and trining Mars and Saturn, finally trining Pluto, all within less than a month. And it could be that this focus on the Earth actually enables us to do the necessary work in the world with great pleasure, to see the beauty of life, to see the beauty in others. A long time ago I made a little jingle, which is, I look for beauty in all that I see. Everything's beautiful all around me. When we look for beauty, that is what we see. Because in fact, life itself is beauty, in the same way that everything is made of love. And when we're in touch with it, we are at peace. So I see this whole month as being about how to be oneself, relate to people from oneself, and still in gentle touch with how the other person is feeling. Sometimes it'll be just how to be with someone while they are the ones who pour out their woes. Just being as oneself, rooted and courageous, like a tree. Mercury will be retrograde from the 22nd of March until the 14th of April. Being retrograde in Aries seems to me no bad thing, because Aries can focus in the present very beautifully, but is often in too much of a hurry to do that. Whereas when Mercury is retrograde in Aries, there is a natural slowing down, perhaps, of that drive. Perfect for practicing mindfulness. Jupiter is already retrograde, and will remain so for 4 months, which it does every year. And the thing that I like to suggest is that we stop expecting huge forward movements during this time, but spend our energy perhaps a bit more on upgrading our methods. In early July he goes direct again, gradually speeding up to rush forwards for the following 9 months. Plenty of time for growth during this autumn and the spring of next year. There are more details in my new moon letter on my website. And in the meantime, enjoy yourself. Trust yourself. Deep in your being, you are connected with all things. Wisdom flows through the pattern of nature, so stand on the earth, firm and steady. Nothing can throw your balance when you are anchored deep. Above all, there is light. Look through that light at what is around you, and everything dissolves into love.